Kahalau Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rekakadash. Greetings to all Israel. Okay, we're going to do part 7 of prayers of deliverance, strength, and endurance. So we'll go to the book of Esther, and we'll go to chapter 13, Mordecai's prayer. Then Mordecai prayed to the Most High, kind to the remembrance of all the works of Yahweh, O Elohim. He said, O Elohim, Yahweh, you rule as king over all things, for the universe is in your power, and there is no one who can oppose you when it is your will to save Israel. For you have made the heavens and the earth and every wonderful thing under the heavens. You are Yahweh, O Elohim of all. There is no one who can resist you. You are the Most High. You know all things. You know, Yahweh, O Elohim, that it was not in insolence or pride or of any love of glory that I did this, and refused to bow down to the proud Haman. For I would have been willing to kiss the soles of his feet to save Israel. But I did this so that I might not set human glory above the glory of the Most High. And I will not bow down to anyone but you, who are my Elohim, O Yahweh. And I will not do those things in pride. And now, O Yahweh Elohim and King, O Elohim of Abraham, spare your people, for the eyes of our foes are upon us to annihilate us, and they desire to destroy the inheritance that has been yours from the beginning. Do not neglect your portion, which you redeemed for yourself out of the land of Egypt. Hear my prayers and have mercy upon your inheritance. Turn our mountains into feastings, and we may live and sing praises to your name, O Yahweh Elohim. Do not destroy the lips of those who praise you. And all Israel cried out mighty, for their death was before their eyes. I asked Mordecai's prayer. So now we'll go to Esther's prayer. That's chapter 14. Then Queen Esther ceased deadly anxiety, fled to the Most High. She took off her splendid apparel and put on the garments of distress, and mourned instead of costly perfumes. She covered her head with ashes and dung, and she utterly humbled her body. Every part that she loved to adorn, she covered with her tangled hair. She prayed to Yahweh Elohim of Israel and said, O Yahweh Elohim, you only are our king. Help me who am alone, and have no helper but you, for my danger is in my hand. Ever since I was born, I have heard in the tribes of my family that you, O Yahweh Elohim, took Israel out of all the nations and our ancestors from among all their forebears for an everlasting inheritance, and that you did for them all that you promised. And now we have sinned before you, and you have handed us over to our enemies, because we glorified their gods, Maseroth, worldly religions, divination. You are righteous, O Yahweh Elohim, and now they are not satisfied that we are in bitter slavery, but they have covenants with their idols to abolish what your mouth has ordained, and to destroy your inheritance, to stomp the mouth of those who praise you, and to quench your altar and the glory of your house, to open the mouths of the nations for the praise of vain idols, and to magnify forever a mortal king. O Yahweh Elohim, do not surrender your scepter to what has no being, and do not let them laugh at our downfall, but turn their plans against them and make an example of him who began this against us, Esau. Remember, O Elohim, make yourself known in this time of our affliction, and give me courage, O King of the Most High, and Master of all dominions. Put eloquent speech in my mouth before the lion, and turn his heart to hate the man who is fighting against us, so that there may be an end of him and those who agree with him. But save us by your hand, and help me who am alone and have no helper but you, O Yahweh Elohim. You have knowledge of all things, and you know that I hate the splendor of the wicked, and abhor the bed of the uncircumcised, and of any alien. You know my necessity, that I abhor the sign of my proud position, which is upon my head on the days when I appear in public. I abhor it like a filthy rag, and do not wear it on the days when I am at leisure. And your servants have not eaten at Haman's table, and I have not honored the king's feast or drunk the wine of libations. Your servant has had no joy since the day that I was brought here until now, except in you, O Yahweh Elohim of Abraham, O Elohim, whose might is over all, and hear the voice of the despairing, and save us from the hands of evildoers, and have me and save me from my fears. All right, man, that was good, man. That was Esther. We're gonna go to Mordecai's dream fulfilled. That's the last part of the book of Esther, chapter 10, verse 4. It says, and Mordecai said, these things have come from Yahweh Elohim, for I remember the dream that I had concerning these matters, and none of them has failed to be fulfilled. There was a little spring that became a river, great awakening, and there was light and sun and abundant water. The river is Esther, whom the king married and made queen, the bride, righteous. And two dragons are Haman and myself. The nations are those that gather to destroy the name of the Hebrews. And my nation, that is Israel, who cried out to Yahweh Elohim and were saved. The Most High has saved his people, and the Most High has rescued us from all these evils. Yahweh Elohim has done great signs and wonders that have never happened amongst the nations. For his purpose had made two lots, one for the people of Yahweh Elohim and one for all the nations. And those two lots came to the hour and moment and day of decision before Yahweh Elohim and among all the nations. And Yahweh Elohim remembered his people and vindicated his inheritance, so that they will observe these days in the mouth of Adar on the 14th and 15th of that month with an assembly and joy of gladness. Yahweh Elohim from generation to generation, forever and ever. Okay, there you go. And it says here, postscript says, in the 4th year of the reign of Ptolemy and Cleopatra, Diocetes, who said that he was a priest and a Levite, and his son Ptolemy brought Egypt the preceding letters above Purium, which they said was authentic and had been translated by Lysimachus, son of Piatri, one of the residents of Jerusalem. Alright, so now let's finish it with the first Maccabees, you know what I'm saying? And we'll go to chapter 2, Matthias and his sons, and we'll finish it with pagan worship and refuse. Alas, why was I born? He said, he saw the blasphemy being committed in Judea and Jerusalem. Okay, alas, why was I born to see this, to the ruin of my people, the ruin of the holy city, and to live there when it was given over to the enemy, the sanctuary given over to aliens? Her temple has become like a person without honor. Her glorious vessels have been carried into exile. Her infants have been killed in the streets. Her youth by the sword of the foe. One nation has not been inherited her palaces, and has not seized her spoil. All her adornments have been taken away. No longer free, she has become a slave, and see, our holy place, our beauty, and our holy glory have been laid waste. The Gentiles have profaned them. Why should we live any longer? Then Matthias and his sons tore their clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned greatly. So they were against all this shit. Now let's finish it with pagan worship. That's verse 15. The king officers who were enforcing the apostasy came to the towers of Modem to make them sacrifice. Many of the Israelites came, and Matthias and his sons were assembled. Then the king officer spoke to Matthias as follows: You are a leader, honored and great in this town, and supported by sons and daughters, sons and brothers. Now, be the first to come and do what the king commanded. That's all. The Gentiles and the people of Judah and those that are left in Jerusalem have done. Then you and your sons will be numbered amongst the friends of the king, and you and your sons will be honored to sell out, to be a queen, and with silver and gold and many gifts. But Matthias answered and said in a loud voice, Even if all the nations that live under the rule of the king obey him and have chosen to obey his commandments, every one of them abandoning the religion of their ancestors, I and my sons and my brothers will continue to live by the covenant of our ancestors. For far be it from us to desert the law and the ordinance. We will not obey the king's words by turning aside from our religion, which is really our faith, by turning aside from our faith into the right hand or to the left. When he had finished speaking these words, a Jew came forward in the sight of all to offer sacrifice at the altar of Modin, demons, man. According to the king's command, when Matthias saw it, he burned with zeal, and his heart was stirred. He gave vent to the righteous anger. He ran and killed him on the altar. At the same time, he killed the king's officer who was forcing them to sacrifice, and he tore down the altar. Thus he burned with zeal for the law, just as Penias had did against Simri, son of Salu, in Numbers. Then Matthias cried out in the town with a loud voice, saying, Let everyone who is zealous for Yahweh Elohim and the law and support the covenant come out with me. Then he and his sons fled to the hills and left all they had in the town. At that time, many who were seeking righteousness and justice went down to the wilderness to live there. They, their sons, and their wives, and their livestock became troublesome, addressed heavily upon them, and it was reported to the king's officers and the troops in Jerusalem, the city of David, that those who had rejected the king's command had gone down to the hidden places in the wilderness. Many pursued them and overtook them. They encamped opposite them and prepared for battle against them. On the Sabbath day, the holy day, they said to them, Enough of this, come out and do what the king commands, and you will live. But they said, We will not come out. nor will we do what the king commands, and so profane the Sabbath day. Then the enemies quickly attacked them, but they did not answer them or hurl a stone at them or blocked up their hiding place. For they said, "Let us all die in our innocence. Heaven and earth testify for us that you are killing us unjustly." So they attacked them on the Sabbath, and they died, and their wives, children, livestock, to the numbers of thousands of persons. When Mattathias and his friends learned of this, they mourned for them deeply, and all said to their neighbors, "If we all do our kindred have done and refuse to fight with the Gentiles for our lives and for our ordinance, they will quickly destroy us from the earth." So they made this decision that day, "Let us fight against anyone who comes to attack us on the Sabbath day. Let us not all die as our kindred died in the hated places." Man, it's basically, counterattack. Then there was united with them a company of Hardenians and mighty warriors of Israel, all who offered themselves willingly for the law, and all who became fugitives to escape their trouble joined them and reinforced them. They organized an army and struck down sinners in their anger and renegades in their wrath. The survivors fled to the Gentiles for safety, the sellouts and Manaflakums, and as his friends went around and tore down the altars, they forcibly circumcised all the uncircumcised boys that they found within the borders of Israel. They hunted down the arrogant, and the work prospered in their hands. And their work prospered in their hands. They rescued the law out of the hands of the Gentiles and kings, and they never let the sinners gain the upper hand. Selah, Selah. Glorified be Kahala, Yahweh Elohim. Glorified be Mashiach, Yahweh Shine. Glorified be the Kakadash. Okay, that concludes, 4 videos before sundown. Hope it's all edifying. Most High be willing providing. I might not do some more videos, however the Spirit leads us, man. Enjoy, rest of the evening, be wise in the decisions that you make. I know it ain't easy. Trust me, I go through it every single moment of my life. But, at some point, sometime, you have to make a stand, man. Even if you have to just stay home, man, by yourself. I mean, it ain't easy. I go through it, like I said, a lot. But, glorified be the Shabbat, glorified be the Most High, and Shalom, man.